Welcome back, podcast fans. I'm your host, Annette Hines, and this is Parenting Impossible. And I'm here with Celia Landman, and I'm actually going to do my introduction in just a few seconds. But Celia, who is talking to us today about mindfulness, is going to reframe right now. So, Celia?
Thanks, Annette. Yeah, I noticed when I was starting to talk to Annette, there's a lot that's moving through me right now. So I wanted to share something that I do often. I also do with clients, and just to listen to the sound of a bell, come back to our body and our breath, and just recenter with 3 breaths. So you're going to hear a little half sound, which is what we call a wake up to the bell, and then 3 full sounds. And we'll have the opportunity just to breathe, maybe to invite the shoulders to drop, and to return home to ourselves. And just noticing how it was for you to pause in the midst of whatever you're doing
Hmm.
and come back to your breath, come back to paying attention and caring for your body. And when we care for our body, we also take care of our emotions.
That felt really good. I am learning over the last couple of years the difference between mindfulness and meditation. And I think this is really coming from audience because we had a little chat before we started the interview. And I mentioned to Celia that her book, which is amazing, and I'm honestly not finished with it yet, is a little triggering for me because any kind of struggles in parenting brings back a lot of trauma. And so she could tell that I was already feeling a little bit anxious and, just holding some stuff in my body. And so thank you. I'm so grateful for that. Let me tell you a little bit about Celia, though. She's a mindfulness educator and she offers support to teens and adults. And she's drawing from experiences working with those impacted by trauma, addiction, and anxiety. Hello, me. And creates customized meditation, visualizations, and trainings to reconnect them to their wholeness. So great. She was ordained as a member of the Plum Village community of engaged Buddhism. And she's also a certified trainer with the Center for Nonviolent Communication. She's got a new book out, When the World Tips: Parenting Through Crisis with Mindfulness and Balance. And this book describes how to find balance while navigating seemingly impossible parenting situations. Exactly what we talk about on this podcast. Um, so as I started, kind of getting prepared for this interview and thumbing through the book, I noticed that I was feeling a lot. A lot was coming up for me. And many people who've heard me on this podcast or who've listened to me before know that I've had one crisis after another for nearly 20 years with my kids, maybe even longer, and all documented in my own book. And so, it's a lifelong journey. Now, Celia, thank you so much for coming to the show. It's been a while since we've been trying to plan this, and I so appreciate you being here. I really want you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you into this mindfulness realm.
Mm. Well, thank you, Annette, for giving me this opportunity to share this with people. So I'm a parent, and I also am a mindfulness practitioner. And when I found the path of mindfulness, what it could do. I've found it through Buddhism, so it's a
Mhm.
little different than the secular mindfulness
Right.
taught in schools or mindfulness-based stress reduction.
Mhm.
Um, but when I found that, it reconnected me with a part of me that I had lost, and it
Mm.
reconnected me to this kind of sense, this bigger sense of capacity and capability.
Mm.
And when I encountered the difficulty and the suffering in my own children, and I have
Yeah.
one kid with an ongoing mental health diagnosis that is, I am just returning from caring for, and they're an adult
Mhm.
now, caring for them. I so resonate with crisis after crisis,
Yeah.
and how, and it's really hard, and it impacts me every day
Yeah.
to have this person I really love in my life, and also to be powerless over
Yeah.
making choices for them, creating their own happiness. Uh, just so really living in that space of what can I do? Where is my agency? Where's my efficacy? Because if I believe whatever I do is futile,
Yeah.
that's the perfect recipe for depression and despair and panic. So that then I make really poor decisions because I'm just totally reactive. So
Mhm.
the mindfulness piece really helped me find my feet and remember that I'm more than just this, the fear, and I'm more than just my emotional responses.
Mm. I so appreciate that and resonate with everything that you're saying. Honestly, it was such a long path to walk for our family, and it's not over yet. Um, and so many lessons to learn, and it takes a lot of courage to actually put that stuff, the old stuff aside and really like look at it. And you and I started to talk about that a little bit. And I said, oh, wait, we have to talk about this when the interview starts, because one of the topics that we thought we might talk about today is something that I've really been talking about a lot the last couple of years, and that's how to heal from blame and shame and other responsibility that we put on ourselves and other people put on us for our child's hardships and struggles. And the shame part, there's so much shame. I've had so much shame, and I've talked to so many parents, mainly mothers, but not exclusively mothers, who feel so much shame around the condition of their family and their loved ones and their helplessness or learned helplessness. So let's talk about that a little bit. How how do we even begin to heal from self-blame, outside blame, because we have enough people throwing rotten tomatoes at us as it is. And then this whole feeling of shame that can overwhelm us. How do we, put that outside of ourselves, take a hard look at it, pull the covers off of it?
Well, I think we could spend about 8 months just on this topic.
True.
It's because it's bigger than we are. It's cultural, it's generational, it's, we've inherited shame, we've inherited uh, responsibilities for other people's thoughts and actions, and
Mm.
uh, what they've done and what they haven't done. So we're carrying a lot generationally.
Mm.
And then culturally, if you were, in the body of a woman as a mother, a lot is expected of you.
Yeah.
That whatever's going on with your kid, oh, there's got to be something, you've done something or you haven't done
There's
something.
something there. Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
actually speaking with someone who's a clinician last week who believed that the condition, the personality disorder that my daughter had came from the my attachment style, that I had done something to her, and I said, you might want to look at some of this research that is
Yeah.
that it's not just nature, that there's nurture in here. I mean, not just nurture, that there actually is hereditary factors, and this is
Right.
not, but I received it as a little like, ooh, that's even somebody I know who's a friend.
Mm.
Wow, this is the mess, because it's so woven,
Ingrained. It's
yeah,
so ingrained. Yeah.
into that, how and it's, of course it matters. Of course the parenting matters. It mattered for us, and it matters for everyone in the world. But it's also that uh, the way people show up is more than, it's bigger than we can see.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I show up is, I've had generations of stuff I've inherited. You've had generations of stuff. We all come in with different propensities, different conditioning, and the shame piece,
Mm.
cultural shame, uh, it keeps us so small. I mean, we know what that, if you talk about shame,
Oh,
there's
you
that,
can feel it in your body.
yeah.
You start constricting, you start making yourself smaller so nobody looks at
Right.
you and sees what you've done and sees your failures. Oh, please. I know that so well. Oh my goodness. And everybody on this podcast is going to agree with that.
And when you talk about it, when you feel it in your body, where do you feel it? Where do you feel shame?
In my stomach.
Stomach. Yep.
I
Mhm.
I
Yep.
I start getting the worst stomach aches. I've had them all my life. Thinking about what I'm carrying forward from my family past, I it's it's just opening up my eyes even more. It's funny, when you turn 50, I don't know if you're there yet, but for me,
Oh, oh
when I
yeah. Oh
when I
yeah.
turned 50, a lot sort of opened up for me, and it was people fear getting older. It's making me bolder. Older is making me bolder, and I'm grateful for the wisdom now to be able to continue to grow as a person, and actually really start being able to let go of some of this stuff and enjoy my life without
Mm,
all this pretext and context.
yeah.
But let's talk about, some healing points. So how do
Right.
people start,
So
moving forward?
one thing that really helped me was the definition of shame from a nonviolent communication trainer named Liv Larson out of Sweden. And she said that guilt or regret or remorse is when I do something that isn't in integrity with my values, right? So I
Mm.
might be like, oh, I can't believe I did. Oh. Shame is when I do something and I get the message it's not in integrity with someone else's values, meaning I've disappointed
Oh,
somebody.
wow.
So
Okay.
shame's always relational. And for me, that was it was like I didn't meet the needs of somebody else. That's
Mm.
shame. When
So the
I look,
expectations of your mother, the expectations of your community, the expectations of the teacher who wants to take you to task for something you didn't get done
yeah,
or didn't
because
do
your
the way they
kid
thought you
doesn't
should.
talk in class or has
Mhm.
no friends or, whatever it is. Yeah.
Mm.
And then, so not meeting other people's expectations. And that gave me a little glimpse into more choice. And also checking out what is shame? What is this protecting me from? Because
Mm.
anytime we have something I'm going to call an afflictive emotion, like just, that ouchie, because shame is a real big one.
Mm.
Shame's actually an emotion that keeps us um, in community. It keeps us following the script of our culture. It says get in line or you're going to feel really bad. You'll feel shame. Does that
Mm.
sound accurate to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
I look at it like that, when I start looking at it differently, that this is sort of like, this is good, this is information. This, and it's a feeling like any other feeling. What do I want to do with it? So I can look below the shame and go, okay, this happened. Yeah. And where's the pain point here? Is it
Okay.
that
Yeah.
I wanted, did I do something that was out of integrity? Or is it that my training is that I need to meet the expectation, the cultural expectation, or what you were saying, the teacher, the doctor, is
Mm-hmm.
that what's going on? And yet again, I have disappointed somebody because I couldn't do it. So
So,
is that
so
what
good.
the thing is? So
So
when I
your first point is, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you,
no,
but
no,
I'm
no,
so
because
into
I
this
will just
conversation.
go.
I no, but I'm just really enjoying this conversation. So I want to just jump right in there. So I'm sorry for being overly enthusiastic, but I hear you saying that the very first step is to really just look at it
Yeah.
and question, okay, what's going on here? All right, excellent. Okay, then what do you
Yeah.
do when you start asking
Where
those
didn't I
questions?
meet? Whose expectation didn't I meet here? Whose needs didn't I take care of?
Mm,
Chances are it's not
it's
ours.
it's not
It's
me, right?
it's
It's you.
relational.
It's not me.
Because the exact motion you're talking about in shame, and it's universal, the hiding,
Yeah.
we're hiding from somebody,
Mm,
right? We're not, and it's not our, and we hide from ourselves too, but it's don't look at me because
right.
I didn't live up to your needs. So,
Yeah.
so then this is the piece that is also in the book, and this is easy, kind of easy to explain, but it takes a lot of training, is to see where I'm hurt, is to see the pain that, I really wanted, of course, I wanted to be seen as capable and competent and loving and supportive, and that's not what's happening. So it's
Mhm.
it's taking that awareness of what's beneath shame and doing that mindful accompaniment where I stay present,
Mhm.
aware of my capacity. So I don't want to end up crying on the couch for 2 days and becoming a limp dish rag,
Yeah.
but with capacity, drop by drop, being able to, oh, oh, I love it when I'm competent. I do, and I'm human and I get things wrong. I get times wrong. I get dates wrong. I get so many things missed. Oh yeah, I love it um when I'm able to offer that level of care or show up in the way somebody else wants and really be there in the way they
Yeah.
want, and that I care about other
Yeah.
people's opinions, which can
Mhm.
be shocking, but so true, because that's where we're hardwired to care, because our survival as organisms depend on us belonging in our community. So yeah, of course it
Right.
hurts. So when I can show up and take care of that, I
Mm.
find that I've actually peeled away this layer of shame, which says don't look, don't look. And what's
Mhm.
under it is really kind of like a broken heart asking for care. And I wonder if I can find it because there's so many things on my desk, but I just picked so here's a little note I've written. So I was telling Annette, I have kind of themes of the year.
Mhm.
This is my year of shame. Welcome to shame.
Mm.
So I wrote a little reminder to myself that says, hold the hand of shame, don't leave her in the dirt.
Oh.
To remind myself not to run, because running from shame, uh, we get really good at running from shame and we keep
Yeah.
running. And the minute I
And
feel that, I want to hide.
yeah, and for me it's that nauseous stomach, right?
Yeah,
And if we do that, if we keep running away and we don't have the courage to face it, to look at it and to, you know, work with it, then it's still there. We can try to run away, but it's still there. It's in us. So we're not moving forward. We're not moving
yeah.
through it.
And I'm going to offer you a little unsolicited suggestion about the nausea and the stomach stuff in
Mm,
shame, if that's okay for you.
absolutely. That's the
So,
best thing that I get out of these podcasts. I get a lot of self-care from it.
so this is again it's an experiment because it's always personal. It's always how is it for you?
Yeah.
But what you're describing is the vagus nerve response. So that's the long vagus means wandering. It's the 10th cranial nerve, the longest nerve in the body.
Mhm.
It goes, from the occiput, the back of your skull, through your ears, face, controls breathing, controls digestion, elimination. So that's the thing in your stomach. That's the thing that goes
Mm,
and you feel like, oh, the squeeze, the pain, the discomfort. So what that's telling, so that's a strong message. It's very
yeah.
strong. So even in that moment, it's like letting your stomach know, oh, I care about this. Oh, I care about this discomfort. Even and what the vagus nerve does respond well to is like soft, caring touch. So even just putting hands on your body and letting and say, oh, my because our stomachs, this may sound weird, our stomachs try to protect us all the time. We have as many neural cells in our stomach as the brain of a small dog.
Wow.
It's where we make our serotonin in our stomach. The stomach is often called the second brain because it contains the same neural cells as our brain. So the stomach is really this place that's talking to us, giving us, it's a place of wisdom. So
Yes.
so like letting that, like giving that stomach appreciation, even though it doesn't feel good in the moment, that's how it's trying to get your attention to take care of
Hmm.
you.
Trust me,
So
my messages are very strong.
yeah, so your body's really working to uh to keep you in a place of love, to keep you in a place of belonging and safety.
Mm.
And when we can turn, instead of saying, oh, my stomach, oh, it's really bothering me, if we can shift to, oh, my stomach is telling me so strongly that it's really scared about my belonging right now and how I'm seen in the world.
Wow. I love that. Flip that script around. That's
And
amazing.
and then listen, how does the stomach respond to it? And I know this might sound really strange, like I'm talking to my body like it's parts of, like it's a separate being. But in my experience, uh, the body totally responds to this. It is
Mm.
so happy to know, oh, you see me.
Yes.
Ah, you know, I'm not out to get you. I'm not your enemy. I'm trying to take care of you.
Hmm.
I'm trying to keep you safe because
Wow.
that's what we do all the time. That's
That's
what the body
so
does.
cool, Celia. That's amazing.
So let me know next time it happens. Even just to offer a little warmth and just say, "Oh, I see you working so hard to keep me safe." Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. I really am. I have less stomach aches now than I used to, but and even saying that, oh my God, you know how bad I feel for saying that? Because my daughter's passed away.
Hmm.
My trials and tribulations of raising her are somewhat over. And to acknowledge that there's some relief there makes me feel horrible
Yep.
about myself.
And I talk about this in the book too, that
Yes, this is where I had to take a moment
yeah, yeah,
because,
because
you
there was
know,
only one person I could admit, like if yeah, if my kid wasn't on the planet, that my life would feel simpler. And then there's so much, so there's grief. I
So
mean,
much
there's so much grief
ongoing.
that to even be in the place where it's more than one person
Hmm.
can hold, and I think
Yeah.
this is something that we need to be very careful about who we share this with,
Hmm.
that people need to earn the right to hear this, because this is not something that everyone can take in.
Yeah. It it is really difficult and very, very much brings up a lot of trauma for me, of course, but it's something I'm starting to unpack, you
Yeah.
know? It's been a few years, but starting to work on that. Well, I want to ask you about Buddhism because I don't know very much about Buddhism, but it's very intriguing as a, very peaceful way to live. And I crave peace. I'm sure everybody who's listening to us right now craves peace, right? What does Buddhism teach us about how to show up during the crisis moments, the state of overwhelm that many of us are in a lot?
So one of the primary teachings is that that I learned from my teacher, who was the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, was stop, calm, rest, and heal. And it's the idea that in this moment, even though it feels so out of control, there is peace that is available. And it doesn't mean this moment is going to be a great moment. I mean, when we're talking about a child who's suffering or at risk, or um,
Mm.
living in ways that we just cannot understand,
Mhm.
um, there's always gonna be pain.
Yeah.
But what it means is I don't have to do, um, there's a sutra, this teaching by the Buddha, which is called the second arrow, which is that when you get struck by an arrow, it really hurts. There's an arrow in you, of course it hurts. And then we add the second arrow by, like, why did this happen? How could this be? All the stuff we do.
Oh, yeah.
I blame myself. I shame myself. I say, if I had only ducked, so not only do I have an arrow in me, but I have the pain of 10 more arrows with what I'm doing with my mind. So what
Mhm.
Buddhism does for me is, I'm going to feel the first arrow, but I know how to be with my suffering. I know how to be with my own pain, and I don't have to add 10 more. So
Right.
it doesn't mean that my life is going to be like, you know, some beautiful Hallmark card. Um,
Yeah. No. None of that
no,
here.
no, it's not that. But it means I know how to show up for my suffering and not abandon myself.
Mhm.
And I know, and I do my best not to add more.
Yeah, so I heard someone talking about this monk that they had worked with, and was such a revelation for me and has stayed with me all these years that you can actually hold both sorrow and joy in your heart at the same time. I don't I can't even explain to you how that kind of broke my mind and then helped kind of reset it, because it's okay to be joyful about this trip that I just took to Alaska with my daughter, my other daughter, and still be sad about the daughter I lost.
Of
Like,
course.
I
Yeah.
don't have to choose
Right.
sadness to feel like I'm being a dutiful parent. I can sit with both emotions. My heart's big enough. That started my healing journey, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, what a revelation that was. But it broke my mind for a little bit, struggling with that.
And it's also that because we think, oh, if something, bad happens, I need to feel this one way, or I'm not the person I want to be. What is wrong with me that I can be happy in the midst of this
Yes.
great suffering? Or what you were talking about before, that even though there's a huge mourning and loss, there's also some relief
Hmm.
because some things in life are easier. And those, as
Yeah.
painful as that is, both of those things can exist and both can be true, but one doesn't mean the other, that it makes you any less loving, it makes you human and a person who has a capacity that has been pushed beyond
Hmm.
its limit. It makes you a person who has been through so much that they really need rest.
Yeah. You know what saying I hate? God doesn't give you more than you can handle. Well, you know what? I'm here to tell you, it flattened me. So I don't agree with
Yeah.
that statement. I know people try to say it to be kind and to support you and tell you how wonderful and brave they think you are, but I think it's more honest to be able to say to people, I see you and I see that you are broken and that things are, really rough right now.
And what you're talking about is I run into this again and again with people doing their best to offer empathy, but you get something totally different. You get this kind of spiritualizing, like, um, oh, you just need to let it go. And I'm like, so whatever I'm doing, clearly I'm not doing it well enough for you, and
Right.
you want me to do something different. So not only am I
Yeah.
struggling, but my struggle isn't it's not in the right format for you,
That's
or
right.
whatever they're saying, or silver lining it. Yeah, you don't get more than you can handle. And that's like, I don't even know where to turn with that one because it's like, well, maybe you haven't lived in my life. Maybe you haven't
True.
lived.
Yeah.
And
And frankly, grief and sorrow, it kills some of us.
yeah,
Like we're not all like, given no more than we can handle, obviously, because some of us can't handle it. And I think that's because we as a society are so uncomfortable with other people's pain that we can't look at it
that's one of the really big points I talk about in this
in the
book
book.
is
Yes.
that we actually increase other people's anxiety and discomfort when we are not able to accompany somebody in pain. And
Yes.
when sometimes things really suck, sometimes life is hard, there's,
Yeah.
and I see this again and again in the mindfulness community too. I was just out, in Denver visiting my daughter, and I was at a mindfulness community meeting.
Mhm.
And at the end, and I shared about some of the difficulties I was going through, and I just wanted listening. I really wanted listening. At the end, I was quite surprised that, there's this kind of mindfulness thing like of, well, there's still so much wonderful things in the world, and you can really nurture that joy in your heart. And yes, all that's true, and we need joy. We
Yeah.
need it to leaven our suffering, right? I love laughing. I
Right.
love in the midst of, chaos and confusion to
Mm.
actually take a break and call one of my friends and just laugh because
Yeah.
and to remind myself I'm not only that. I am
Right.
not only suffering, but also, um we really don't, it minimizes our experience when people tell us to shine, to shine this golden light on it, and it's like that's not helpful right now.
Right.
What's helpful is just being present with me because it's a lot.
Yeah, and as caregivers, we very often feel invisible, and frankly, we are invisible. a lot of the time. And I think that's the whole point is, you know, just sitting in it with us is so it's so much more than we usually get from people, from our family, from our community, and it goes so far. I had one
Yeah.
friend who really two who sat with me after my daughter died and who just were there. Just were
Presence.
there. Just being present, not needing to say anything, not
Mhm.
needing to make sure that I got up and took a shower and did all the appropriate things that I was supposed to do. Nope, none of that. My family was great too, but just, 10 years later, I'm still looking at that and saying, that was exactly what I needed. How loving of them to know and to see me and
Yeah.
say, that's what she needs right now. My God, I'm so out of time. This is crazy. I could
Oh,
talk to you for days about this stuff.
well, I just want to say it is such a gift to have people in our lives who can walk with us through the fire, who can accompany us in pain and
Yeah.
not try to minimize our experience, to take it away, who can just be there. Just pull up a chair, like you're saying, and
Mm,
be there. And that is enough. And people don't always know
right.
that how significant presence is.
Mhm. But you're telling them with your book. Thank you for that. Again, Celia's book is When the Whole World Tips: Parenting Through Crisis with Mindfulness and Balance. It's really good. And, if you're like me, you might need to take it in pieces, or maybe it's something that you can read straight through. I know that I'm going to be taking it on vacation with me in 2 weeks. And I am really, when I have the space to be able to really run through some important messages, I'm going to take that time for myself to do that for myself. But thank you so much for writing this book and sharing so much of yourself and your wisdom and for being here with me today because this was amazing for me. Thank you. I hope you got something out of it because I
Oh,
really did.
I love talking about this. And I just want to say, if you're reading the book, there's meditations in it. If you go to my website, celialandman.com, they're all recorded there because you can't do a meditation and read it. You can't
Yes.
practice it at the same time. So
It's
they're
a
all
great
recorded.
website.
They're all
I'll put
free.
And I'll put all of the links in the show notes, your website, your Facebook link, your Instagram, and your LinkedIn in case anybody wants to connect with you about this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
I'm always happy to talk to parents and to, yeah, offer what I can because we we can't do it alone.
No, no. We're definitely walking through this world as a community. Community is so important. Well, thank you again. It was so great to talk to you, and I really appreciate it. I hope to, you know, work on some stuff with you again soon in another context. I'm thinking about some things. I'll be in touch.
Wonderful. Yeah, there's so much more. And the communicate, we didn't even talk about the communication piece, which is important too.
Well, I didn't even get through half of my notes of things. So, we're going to have a continuation of this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.